Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome, folks. Today, The Hungry Gamer is back with another episode of the monthly menu, and today we are talking about November 2022, November 15 through December 15, more or less. And just before I jump into this, there was not going to be a monthly menu proper for December because the month's ending and only a couple of weeks from the recording of this video. And what the last video of the year is going to be is simply the most played game of the year, not top game of December, because only half of it. And then in January, it'll just be January 1 to February 1, and I'll be on the proper monthly menu starting then. Hopefully, if I don't mess up. So, anyhow, jumping right in, the picks for the month started with, of course, as always, the list. And for the list, we actually knocked out 4 different games off the list. We got Wander the Cult of Barnacle Bay, we got Dungeon Fighter, we got Isla and Something Shiny, and we got The Reckoners. Barnacle Bay is, if you follow the channel for a while, it's one of my favorite dungeon crawls. It actually came up at the top of the list when I did my top 10 dungeon crawls a couple of years ago now, and would still be in that top portion of the list. It's actually a list I'm looking at kind of going back to and redoing. We'll see where it falls, but definitely would still be up in that top 5, maybe that top 2, 3 spots still. That is just how much I like that game. Very excited for the expansion content that's coming out. Dungeon Fighter is another dungeon crawl-ish style game, but the shtick behind it is it is a dexterity style game in which you are actually throwing the dice that to bounce on the table and they land on a target, and that determines how much damage you're doing to what you're attacking. And as you go through, there's all sorts of bizarre conditions that could put on you. Like you might only be able to toss the die, but you have to have your eye leveled down here at the edge of the table, or you have to drop it off your nose, or whatever. Very, very hard game. And I have a whole bunch of expansions for. I don't know why I got everything, but I got everything. I don't know if I'm going to keep everything, but I'll probably keep at least 1 or 2 of them. So if you're looking for an expansion for Dungeon Fighter, a standalone expansion, let me know. Next one is Isla and Something Shiny. This is one that I covered a while ago and just hadn't gotten to the table. Like, my wife and I really liked it, and I really wanted to play it with her, and we finally busted it out. We finally got to it, and it's really, really fun. The core shtick of it is you pull a card out of the event deck, and that comes into the present. It's happening now. And then depending on what you do, either you've pushed that problem till later, which means it goes into the future, which means you're going to see it again, or it goes into the past, which means you're never going to see it again. It's just super, super clever. Resource management, this adorable little bunny, and the story is actually, it's got some meat to it. Like, we actually put it away for a while because we're like, wow, that kind of made me sad. And in a good way, So that's Isla and Something Shiny. The next one is, as I said, is The Reckoners, where it's a pandemic style game where you're kind of putting out all the fires while you're trying to accomplish a big goal. In this case, beat Steelheart or Regalia or Limelight. If you're familiar with the Reckoners book series, one of my favorite young adult series, kind of like the boys style of story, just fantastic. But this core mechanic of the game is a Yahtzee style game where you're rolling dice, re-roll them, and try to use the dice to do various things. Very, very cool game. I was lukewarm on it initially, but the expansion just kind of amped things up to the point where I'm now again excited by the Reckoners. The next on the list was Merchant's Cove, and yes, I did get that to the table. My brother, as I mentioned last month, was out, and we got it to the table, we played it, and I got to play the Johnny Pack game maker character. To my knowledge, I'm the only content creator that's actually played it. I don't know if that's true, but I think that's true, and I actually have a video that just released a couple days ago, so if you want to check out how that plays, you can do that. Merchant's Cove was my game of the year in 2021. Still like it a lot. Love all the new stuff. Love playing it. Just great, great game. Next on the list was Revive. Yep, got Revive. Played several times. Got to kind of go through the story campaign thing that's going on. I'll talk a little about that maybe a little bit later, but got to do that and figure out where that falls in my game of the year. Next on the list was Hellboy, and yes, again, I got that to the table. Not only did I get to the table, I painted a whole bunch of it too. And so I only got to play one scenario, but this is really a game that just... Is it in my top 5 dungeon crawls? No. But it is in my top 10. It came in towards the bottom of my top 10 when I did that list and it was kind of there just on feeling. Like, I thought I really liked it. But now that I've played it more and played it again, it would stay on that list. Again, it's not a top tier for me, but it's one that you can play a one-off. And it's easy to play, not easy to win, but easy to play, easy to figure out what's going on, and has some really clever mechanics in there. So happy to get Hellboy out. And then the last one on the list was Feudum. Yes, I got that played as well. Again, my brother played it with me. And everything I said before is true. There's a lot going on in this game. I'm still figuring out how I feel fully about the game, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it again. Now I really need to get it played with multiple players. I've only gotten to play one-on-one several times. I need to play it against 2 or 3 other players to really start to feel like I know what's going on. And then finally I can dig deep into the solo. So still working my way through that, and still have enjoyed my time with it, but still can't make my review because there's just so much going on with that game. So for those of you who are counting, that's 5 out of 5. I know it's not the first time I've played all the games that I've predicted, but it's been a long time. I don't think it's happened more than once or twice in all the monthly menus that I've done. So super, super pumped about that. Now, moving into the top 5 games of November 2022, number 5 is Isla and Something Shiny. Got it to the table several times for several plays, and I will say that this is one that came in kind of tied with a whole bunch of other games, and what determined that this one became number 5 instead of some of the others was simply because we played several rounds of it. Usually when I sit down to play a game, that's it. One. Counts as one thing, because in general I find a really quick, fast game, something like Mouse, Cheese, Cat, Cucumber, which I played a lot of, you can play it 2 or 3 times in a row. But playing that game 2 or 3 times might be the same amount of actual time as playing another game once or even half the time. So just sit down and play it once. But since I had many, many games that were tied for the same number of sit downs and plays, we played the most rounds of Isla and Something Shiny. Now, number 4 is Revive. Not surprising, it's in the Game of the Year consideration, and it was on the list of what I wanted to play. And again, I still am really digging it. Really digging all the mechanics. The mechanics are great. I was really excited to kind of dig into the story campaign. I'm less excited about that now. The mechanics that it adds, fantastic. And the way that builds up and the change to the game, fantastic. The story is gobbledygook. I don't get it. I don't know what's going on. I assume in the original Swedish, I think it's a Swedish designer, and if it's not Swedish, I'm so sorry. I apologize. It's just what's in my head. But maybe it makes more sense there. But it's a bunch of nonsense, and I like nonsense, and so I'm still reading it and doing it, but it doesn't track much, so it didn't really add too much to the game for me. But mechanically, the new factions, the way the factions are done differently, the new scoring conditions, that is awesome. So still really enjoying Revive. You'll probably see that on this list again at some point. Number 3 is The Lands of Galzir, and this is a Kickstarter, or was a game found that I just kind of backed on a whim, and it is this lovely, low stakes adventure sandbox where you're a cute little critter in a world of cute little critters going around and doing stuff and just helping people and taking missions to help them do whatever. And as you go through, the world changes, so you can just keep going back to this world over and over again. The world is just slightly different depending on what it is that you've done. And when I say it's low stakes, for example, the last game I played 2 characters and played it in co-op. One of them spent the bulk of the game helping an old turtle go explore some ruins. And it's not like we were fighting skeletons or something. It's literally, let's go explore ruins. That's it. Well, the other character was kind of dealing with some kind of crime syndicate, but whatever. It wasn't like a world-changing crime syndicate. It was a gentle, friendly crime syndicate. But it has this really cool kind of skill progression, and you're changing what skills you have, and the skill checks, these dice rolls, and depending on what skills you have and what skills you can bring in, it changes the things that you can do and the choices that you have in this kind of choose your own adventure game. And there's just, I don't know, Jerry Hawthorne, the designer of Familiar Tales, told me that there's 600,000 words in it. And how he knows that, I don't know, but that's what he says in there. And that's a lot. There's just so much that you can go back into and dig into and dive into. And it's just, you don't feel pushed to go through because you're just kind of living life and doing stuff and changing the world. Very, very cool game. I'm definitely going to go back to it at some point. Number 2 is The Palaces of Carrara. Now, technically, I played the most games of this, but I played a whole bunch of games on Board Game Arena with Original Don and other people coming in and out, and that was actually the first edition. And I played a few games of the second edition as well. And this is a game that I have a review coming out soon that is just this relative, well, it's not relative, it's a themeless game. Ostensibly, you're building these palaces and stuff, but what you're doing is you're spending the money that you have to buy bricks, and you're using the bricks to build buildings and putting those buildings in different cities, and then when you choose to, you're able to score. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can score, but you score when you want. And for a lot of it though, when someone scores that city, that's it. You're not going to be able to score the city. So you're kind of playing this push your luck of how long can I keep building up in this city before someone else might score it and then make a lot of what I've done useless. Very, very clever mechanics. It has this cool little wheel that slowly you rotate around, and the prices of the different bricks that you can use to build stuff in different cities changes as the wheel rotates. It's very, very clever. Very cool game. That came in at my number 2. And then number 1, and this is, I don't know, the third or fourth time this game has been number 1 this year, is Familiar Tales. And sadly, it's probably the last time it's going to be on the list. Doesn't mean I'm never going to play it again, but I finished the campaign. And since I was playing through by myself, I would pull it out and it would just stay out on the table for days and days, and I played over and over and over again. Well, when I go back through it again, eventually I'll probably be playing with my wife, or be playing with my game group that does kind of adventure games together. And so it'll be like once every couple of weeks. So last time we're going to see Familiar Tales on this. I'm not going to dig into why I love it so much. You know I love it. In fact, it's in my Game of the Year nominees, and you'll be able to find out if it finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 for the year. Fantastic game. So there you have it, folks. That is the top 5 games in November 2022. And moving on to next month's predictions, I'm only going to make one because, again, it's only a couple of weeks, and that's going to be the list. Hoping to get something knocked off the list. Beyond that, we're just going to see what the top games of the year were. And unlike my Game of the Year competition, this is literally anything. Whatever it is that I played the most, that is number 1 as far as the monthly menu is concerned. So, there you have it, folks. As always, thank you so much for watching and kind of pitching in with your comments throughout the year. A big thank you to the channel members, Original Don, Dead Alive Games, and Canadian Kev. And there's, of course, space for more members. Just click the join button down below and it'll tell you what's what. It's as low as 99 cents a month. And again, mostly this is to help me get to conventions. This is to help me get games that you're like, you know what, we really want you to cover this, which is something that does happen every now and then. In fact, that is actually how I wound up with Oathsworn, because it was something that people told me that they were interested in. So I went and I pledged for it, and I backed it. And so it's this kind of support that really allows me to do that. So please do consider it. I only am going to bring this up again on the monthly menu. I might bring it up on the Boards and Brews, but that comes every 3 to 5 weeks, so it's not like it's happening all the time. But please do consider it. There's a couple different levels, and if you're not interested, please just keep watching. In any event, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Tell me down in the comments what your most played games were. I'd love to hear it. Tell me what you think of the games that I did play the most this month. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.